Hey, small business owners. Thanks for tuning in to The Big Small Expert, a show for independent retailers that gives you tips and tricks on how to make your business stand out in a sea of big box retailers. I'm the host, your Big Small Expert, Melissa Palermo, and I opened my first retail store over 20 years ago, and my passion for small business has continued to grow since then. And actually, in my time, I got to deal and work and meet Mr. Ralph Watts. So Mr. Ralph Watts is here. This is my first guest. Welcome, Ralph.
Well, thank you. And where am I from?
You are from Comics and Paperbacks Plus in Palmyra, Pennsylvania.
I should mention that it's the sinkhole capital of the world, according to me.
Does anyone else feel that way?
People who don't own land think it's hilarious. People who own property in Palmyra are not so happy about it.
Is it built on like waterways or something?
It's built on limestone. Okay, we're surrounded by limestone in our valley. The Lebanon Valley, by the way, is a perfect place to shop. That's why my shop's there. But what it comes down to is a lot of caverns, okay? A lot of water erosion, and it creates sinkholes. And so there are a lot of sinkholes in our town. We're right beside Hershey. Hershey does not have sinkholes because they have better PR than we do.
That makes sense.
It does.
So, Ralph, I wanted to bring you on to my first episode of season 2. And talk about how many years have you been in business with Comics and Paperbacks Plus?
I have been in business here in Pennsylvania. I moved back in 1987, and I started selling books out of my second bedroom as soon as I got here, pretty much. I've actually been in business for 36 years overall, 32 years full-time.
So you started selling, you said books, comic books?
Comic books. I sell mainly comic books. I also have paperbacks, which are a very small percentage of my business.
So here's my question. What made you decide, hey, I'm going to start selling comic books?
Well, what it came down to is I never got into business to get into business. I got into business because it just came naturally to me. What happened is I had been collecting comic books since 1972. I was about 11 years old. And so what happened is when I got out of the military in 1987, I had loads and loads of books, and some of them I actually had were duplicates. And I thought to myself, why don't I go ahead and sell these and take that money and buy more new books for me? So I ended up opening up, like I said, first of all, my bedroom, but eventually I went into a flea market stand and I started selling my duplicates. And I also was getting brand new books in from this company out of Denver, Colorado. And so what happened, instead of ordering one copy of Spider-Man for me, I decided to go ahead and order 2 copies and see if it would sell off the shelves there. And so that's
At the flea market?
At the flea market.
Okay.
And so what happened is eventually I realized that I could go ahead and sell people new books on a monthly basis. They would come in every month and pick up books from me at the flea market. And I could sell my older stuff too. And I just ended up using that money to go ahead and buy more new stuff. And eventually I got to the point where I actually had an actual store. So
was the flea market every day or was it once a week?
I was very lucky. The flea market that I was at was originally on a Sunday. They allowed me eventually to go ahead and move into the main part of the flea market, which was open 7 days a week. It was a co-op. And so I had to go ahead and pay rent to be there. And then I also was required to work 2 days a month as somebody, at the counter and to help people out. Are we okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And so,
sorry, I'm also the engineer.
She's also the engineer, and she's doing a good job.
Thank
you. I don't think that's kind of engineer she is, but that's all I know about. Anyway, but again,
keep going.
We're going to keep on going.
So how long were you in the flea market and then the co-op?
That's a good question. I think I was in the, well, here's what happened, is I was in the co-op for probably like a year and a half, 2 years. I got a storefront for a year. My wife became pregnant. My ex-wife became pregnant with my daughter. And so what happened is when my daughter was born, we closed down that store to go ahead and so I could dedicate my time to my family. After a year of my ex-wife watching me be miserable because I didn't have a store anymore, she said, go ahead and open up a nurse store. And so that's what I did. So to answer your question is during that year that my daughter was first born, I was still selling books at the flea market still, but I was not in a store. It's better to have your own store, okay? Because you can call all the shots there. Well, in a flea market, which, I mean, seriously, if you're starting out a small business, always start out small, okay? Don't go ahead and invest all kinds of money into stuff because you know what? You need to go ahead and figure out what's going to work for you. So do it on the cheap. Okay, that's my suggestion.
So that's why you started at the flea market versus having a storefront.
Yeah, I've seen lots of businesses that start out big and they're no longer around. Okay, and I am, and it's just because I don't take first of all, you need to take a risk in order to be in business. If you're not a person who takes risks, don't waste your time. Don't waste your family's time. Okay.
Hallelujah.
Okay. But if you are willing to take a risk, and I do all the time, okay, and I fail all the time, but you know what? I succeed more than I fail. Okay. So, but what happens is you need to go ahead and take the risk. And I forget what we were saying.
So you started out in the flea market
did.
versus
Okay, yes.
having the storefront.
So you start out. I'm sorry. I'm 62 years old, and I don't even remember my name half the time. Anyway, but what I did is I always started out small, okay? And then what happened is if it was successful, you keep on doing it. If it's something that's not working, you have to say to yourself, okay, it's not working. And then eventually stop it, okay? I don't always stop right away because, I'm not too smart sometimes. I just know that it should work. And so I keep at it. And some things actually do work that way.
So how long would you give something? Because I know what the standard thought is.
Okay. Well, I don't know what the standard thought is, so this is how it works out for me.
Right.
Okay. If you're going to do something, do it for a year. Okay.
Okay.
When you start your second cycle and you see that the second cycle, a month 13 is not better than month 1 or month 12, then you have to say to yourself, maybe it's not going to work. And then you need to walk away. But don't go and give yourself only a few weeks if you're doing something major. Do you know what I'm saying? If you're doing something minor, I guess you just go ahead and do it until your gut tells you that it's not working, or your customers say, we don't care.
So what would an example of minor be?
Minor being, say you're going to go ahead and do a brand new line of something that you're carrying in your shop. Your shop's already established, at least like mine's already established. Say that I'm going to go ahead and sell something new in there. I'm going to go ahead and give it, I would think, at least 3 months, if not longer. I tend to let stuff go for a year. I really do. But what comes down to is, say that you can't sell a single one of these things. You have to say to yourself, okay, this is not meant to be. And if it doesn't sell over the Christmas season, then it's not meant to be at all, okay? Because we're here in Hershey, Pennsylvania, okay? The sweetest place on earth. I was born there, by the way. But anyway, so what happens is we're going to go ahead and have 2 busy seasons. We're going to go ahead and have the summer season when everybody comes to Hershey Park, and then we're also going to go ahead and have the Christmas season. So if the thing that you're trying to go ahead and move as a new line does not sell during those 2 seasons, especially Christmas, okay? Why waste your time? So I guess the answer would be, 3 to 6 months.
So that's good. So then what would, I like to give examples. What
Yeah.
would an example of something major be?
Something major be.
Like changing your hours, or would you consider that major?
Oh, that's definitely major. Now,
Okay.
In all my years in business, I only changed my hours after COVID happened. So before then, I was open 5 days a week. Another thing I need to suggest to people too: if you're starting out and you're just starting out as a small business, okay, and you think to yourself, what day should I be open? Okay, what it comes down to is if you have a family already, you need to be closed on either a Saturday or Sunday so you can actually see your kids, okay? So what comes down to, if you're working retail, you probably don't want to be closed on a Saturday. So what you do is you close Sunday. Now, my first ex-wife, don't ask, but anyway, she suggested that we be closed on Sundays and Mondays because that way we have 2 days off in a row so we could go out and do stuff like a real people can do, okay? So I've always had Sundays and Mondays off for over 30 years, okay? And then what happened is when COVID hit, of course, we all shut down, right? So when we came back, though, I had already decided that because I'm getting older and I want to have more fun in life, I'm actually now closed Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays. When I say closed, that means closed to the public. That means that when you go ahead and walk up to my front door and you rattle it, it's not going to open up. It's locked, okay? Does that mean I'm not working? No, I'm still working. I work 7 days a week, okay? I have an online presence, and I also have my shop. My shop is open 4 days a week to the public, but this is 7 days a week.
We will definitely talk about your live sales in a little bit, so don't let me forget.
Yes. So, but anyway, so what it comes down to is a major thing is hours, okay? So when you determine your hours, figure out, first of all, what's going to be best for your customers, and then what's going to be best for you, and do the overlap, okay? Do you know what I'm saying?
It's a tough balance.
It is.
I mean, being in business for yourself is always, being an adult is
Yes.
a tough balance,
Yes.
let alone being responsible
Yeah.
for your own business.
If you're in a town that actually supports you, like when we were at Ephrata, they would actually support business. Other businesses would support business, and there would be some that would stay open after 6 o'clock. But if you're in a town like Palmyra, which I've been in for all these years, they close down at 6 o'clock. I'm still open at 9 o'clock because I'm a destination place. My customers are not from Palmyra. My customers are from an hour's drive around Palmyra. So it doesn't really make any difference what everybody else in town is doing. But if you're in a town and everybody's closing at 6 o'clock, maybe you want to close at 6 o'clock. It's up to you. You have to kind of gauge it, okay? And this sounds crazy. I'm pre-computer, okay? I still use index cards for things, okay? What you want to do is you want to go ahead and mark down, 6 to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, and tally people, and do it for a month at least. And that's going to give you a gauge of, who's coming in. Of course, it's going to change during when? The summer, okay?
Mm-hmm. Seasonal.
And Christmas, okay?
Now, I do just want to put a caveat in here. Anyone who has listened to the first season of The Big Small Expert knows how adamant I am about having a point of sale system. Mm-hmm. Ralph, what kind of system do you use?
I have the $99 cash register that has 2 keys, tax and no tax, okay? Why? Because I'm cheap, and second, because I don't need to have all that other stuff. What it comes down to is I order exact numbers for my standing order customers, which is about 150 people, and then I order an additional copy for the shelf, knowing that if I sell out, I can reorder. So I order as needed. I forget what the actual term is. And then when I do graphic novels and stuff like that, that is going to be there longer. Again, I only order 1 deep, because when you walk into my store and you look at my shelves, they look full, but they only have 1 item per space.
Because everything's facing out.
Everything's facing out.
Okay.
Yeah. So what it comes down to is it all depends on what kind of distributor you have. If you know that you can get on the phone right now and you can have the stuff in 2 days, why would you go ahead and carry 10 deep on anything? It makes no sense. However, if you have a distributor that's not going to get back to you for 3 months, you need to have 10 copies there, don't you?
So, okay, so we're going all over the place, and I love that. I love that, because this is how we talk to each other, because we're actually friends in real life.
We are.
So, all right, so let's take it back. Remind me, I want to talk about your standing orders.
Sure.
And what was the other thing I wanted to talk about?
Your
live
live
sales.
Yes,
okay.
live sale.
So you opened your storefront.
Yes.
What year would you say that was?
1987 is when I opened up in my bedroom.
Your actual real storefront.
Yeah. My real store probably around 89, and then definitely by 90-ish. Well, by 90, I was in business. With a regular store, and then I went full time. Actually, Labor Day of 91, I went full time.
Okay, so in that time, since up to 2023, are your main store has always been in that storefront in Palmyra? Am I correct?
Very
okay. So in that time, computers, the internet, email, Kindles, digital downloads, all of that stuff has kind of come into people's lives. Cell phones, all of that.
Sure.
So how have you changed how you are doing business to compete with that?
Okay. Well, seriously, you have to have a computer now. Of course, that's a given. And actually, I'm very lucky. I have a lot of customers that want me to succeed because they like me, or they like the convenience that I create for them. So I have a lot of people who actually just volunteer at my shop. They don't even take money. They just go ahead and come in and help me out. And I actually have a volunteer who's been with me for over 30 years, and he actually does all my computer stuff. And he was the one who created a pull list for my brand new books that come in. Every week we get brand new books in my industry. Now, what happens is Batman comes out, say, the 1st of the month, and then they'll come out again the 1st of next month. But in the meantime, there's other books that come out every week also. They just don't all come out on the same day. So what happens is he'll go ahead and create a pull sheet for me to go ahead and know exactly out of my 150 people who's getting Batman, who's getting Spider-Man. And so
I'm sorry, when you say a pull sheet, he'll have a sheet for your subscription, and you call them standing order people.
We call them standing order people.
Okay. I know you've been doing this for so long, but these people don't know you, and I barely understand sometimes.
Yeah,
so
that's okay. Now, my industry is very unique. Okay, first of all, I can be a destination because I sell something that only 1% of the population wants it, but that 1% wants it badly. Okay, so they will go ahead. I could be in an alley. I'm on Main Street, but I could be someplace that's really difficult to get to, and people will still go ahead and come to me. It all depends on what you're selling. If you're selling something that you have to be on Main Street for, it's completely different than what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm a destination store. My idea is always have something in your store that is unique to your store in your area that makes people make it a destination store for at least one item, because that's going to be what keeps you in business when everything else is slow. Okay, sell freaking Pokemon cards. You might not go ahead and even have anything else in your whole store, but you know what? I can guarantee you that at 6 o'clock on a Saturday night, somebody in that town is looking for a pack of Pokemon cards. Do it.
Really?
Yeah, why not?
I don't know.
I'm serious. And anything that gets people in the door, if we used to go ahead and advertise in newspapers, well, that's your waste of your money now. Nobody reads the newspapers unless they're like my age or older.
You know what industry still does well by advertising in newspapers?
What?
Funeral. Because of the obituaries and stuff like that.
But
But
I won't get into that one, okay?
besides for that, I'm not sure who else.
That's what I'm saying. So what it comes
Right.
down to is like I said, have something that people want in your store that makes you unique. Even if you have a friend who just makes something that's, right now I'm carrying stuffed dolls that have a superhero theme. Nobody else in the area has them. So if somebody wants something like that,
And they're handmade.
yeah, they are.
Okay.
So they're original art. Okay. See how I did that? I made original art.
Yeah.
But anyway, but I also this. I sell butterflies. I have a comic book store. I sell butterflies and I sell Pennsylvania paranormal ghost books in my store.
You sell butterflies that are framed,
I sell
not real butterflies.
humanely raised butterflies that pass away and then are put into displays.
Oh,
Okay. So what it comes down to is these butterflies were not harmed during their lifetime. They flew around in this netted area. They lived there 6 weeks and they eventually died. They fell to the ground. They picked up the bodies and they went and made them into a beautiful display.
Interesting.
So no butterflies. I don't hurt butterflies. I love butterflies.
That's good. That's good.
I thought so too.
Okay. So okay, wait a second. Let's go back here.
Let's go back. Why not?
All right. So what have you done? Did you answer this question? What
I have no idea what the question was anymore.
So in 91, Labor Day 91,
Yes, I went full time.
when you went full time,
Yes.
the internet and downloads and
Didn't even exist.
whatever didn't exist.
Yes.
So now here we are in 2023.
Yes.
I know COVID came and rocked things, and you came
Big time.
out the other
I
side.
came out better.
Really?
I can't. Okay.
Tell me how.
Everything that people fuss about, usually I'm the guy who says that wasn't that bad. Okay. Like health insurance. We won't get into that right now. But hey, first of all, make sure you have health insurance. Okay. If not, marry somebody who has health insurance. You need to have health insurance because if not, you can go bankrupt in 2 seconds. And that's something that's important. Okay. But let's talk about COVID. So COVID hits here in Pennsylvania. Our governor, who I liked, decided we were to close down the whole freaking state. Okay, so we closed down the whole freaking state, but there was ways to go ahead and still stay in business. And what I had already created was my live sale. My live sale actually was a place that I was already selling stuff on Friday nights on Facebook. And what happens is, and of course Melissa does this with her LuLaRoe. But what it comes down to is you can go ahead and show this stuff. And people go ahead and claim it, and then you just mail it any place in the United States. And also, I have to go ahead and mention that if you sell anything in your store right now that is smaller than like an envelope that you can send that you can send safely through the mail, you should be doing live shows of whatever you have, because you know what? Somebody's going to go ahead and be bored. They're going to watch that thing, and they might buy that item, and you just mail it to them.
So what would you say? Who is your target market?
My target market currently is people that are probably 30-ish or older, mostly guys, but not all guys.
No,
okay?
but we're ironing it down here.
For comic books, though, okay? For paperbacks, it's completely different.
But that's a very small portion of your business.
Yes, but for comic books, it's going to be guys that are probably like 30 years or older, okay? It's great when their kids finally go away to college and the college bills end, because then they can start spending that money they used to spend on college bills. They now start spending it with me. Okay, so most of my customers, I even have a customer who's 70 some years old and he still buys books every week.
Wow.
Yes. So
okay.
So my customer base is 30 to death. right before death. They stop right before death.
So then, of course, using Facebook versus some other platform to do a live sale is going to be for you.
Yes.
What made you go, I should try selling my comic books on Facebook?
Well, again, this is going to be something Melissa already knows, but what happened is my girlfriend, my fiance for life, Kim, I love her very much. What happened is she was selling LuLaRoe, and she had started, I think, in like March of 2016. Okay, she had become a consultant, and she started selling this. And LuLaRoe had told their consultants how to go ahead and do live sales. I had never heard of a live sale before. So what you do is on Facebook, you create a Facebook Live. You just go down, and it says live. on your own thing. And what you do is you just hold stuff and you show it to people, and they can just go ahead and claim it. And I'm sitting there and I'm being her Vanna White. Okay. What happens is she has clothing. I hand her the new one. I take the old one. And as I'm doing this, I'm thinking to myself, I could be doing this with my own business. In fact, anybody who sells something retail should be doing a live thing if they can mail it. Okay. So what happens is I started in January of 2017 of doing my live sales. Okay. COVID didn't happen until 2020?
2020.
So I was already 3 years established doing a Friday show. When we shut down, my Friday show became a daily show for 2.5 months. And I made thousands of dollars selling stuff I already owned.
Now, these are back issues, meaning you weren't selling the current issue that was coming out somebody.
I could if I want to, but there's too much competition for that. So what I do is I sell back issues of comics. I have at least 250,000 books currently in storage, okay? And so what I do is I sell my own stuff, and then I also sell other people's stuff on consignment now.
So you don't have any outright money that you have to put out to purchase that inventory. You just get a percentage of it once you sell it.
I love consignments, and it works well for everybody, because what happens is most people are not going to go ahead, and when you go to sell something to somebody else, if they offer you more than 50% of what it was originally sold for, unless it's something that's very in demand, you're not going to get 50%. That's what I do. I take 50%. I give them 50%. I swallow all the expenses on my side, so they're really getting 50%. Okay.
So the shipping and
I do that all myself.
Processing fees.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So and some people think that it's too high, and if that's the case, then don't do it with me. I'm okay.
There you go. Okay, so you started your sales on Facebook. Have you ventured out into any other platforms?
No.
Okay.
I don't have time to do Facebook. I'm busy.
Because you're running a retail store
I am.
again.
Yeah. I'm working 7 days a week. I really am.
And you also have your standing order customers.
I do.
So that is a subscription model, shall we say.
Yes.
When did you start doing that?
Automatically, right away.
In 1990?
That's a given. Yeah.
That's how it was
comic
done?
book shops at the time, and even now, most of them, okay, what happens is you want to always, if you get something that comes out every single month, whatever it is, okay, or even every 3 months or every 6 months, okay, say that you're selling Matchbox toys, or you're selling, Pokemon, or you're selling
I've seen people do it
games.
with candles.
Okay, see, what happens is you have people subscribe to certain types, and then you know that when you place that order, you need to order so many of these that are already spoken for, and then what you do is based on how popular you think that's going to be, you order 1 to however many you want to. If you know the distributor's going to go ahead and replace stuff just like that, you don't need to order more than like 2 of anything, okay? I mean, if it's brand new, get 2 in. If you sell out that day, you'll have more in the next 2 days, okay?
So comic book stores, I'm going to keep bringing you back.
I know.
Comic book stores always had the standing order thing. So before you even got going in your comic book store, when you would buy them, were you a standing order customer?
I was at other stores.
Other stores, sure.
Yeah.
So you started that, and you continue to do that.
Still do.
And what is the benefit to the customer?
Well, the benefit, first of all, is they won't miss out on anything. If you are ordering something for somebody and you trust them, okay, you don't have to take any money down. If you don't trust them, take money down, okay? That's how it works. But what happens is when the thing comes in, they know that it's going to be set behind the counter, and they have a month to pick it up, and how it works out in my store for what I sell. But again, you make your rules, because you know what? You own your business.
And they're paying retail.
They're paying retail, which really is a fantastic deal, because I'm doing them a favor. They really should pay me a service charge. Some shops thought about doing that. It doesn't work.
Right.
Unless everybody's going to do it. If all your competitors are going to go ahead and do the same thing, what comes down to, first of all, when everybody opens up a brand new store, the existing guy in town or in the area that's selling the same thing that you're selling is not going to like you. That's just a given, because you came in, you took part of his territory.
Yeah, your competition.
Okay? But eventually you're going to go ahead and realize years into it that, you know what, you guys are having the same problems. It's better just to go ahead and get along. Okay. Now, again, he's not going to like you when you first come to town, because why do you come to town? You didn't need to come to his town. But now that you're there, you know what? Put all this hostilities aside and just become friends, because you know what? You can do each other favors. There's going to be some customers that you don't want to deal with. You send them to that guy, because maybe he wants money more than you do. I don't need money bad enough to go ahead and put up with crap, okay? Just so you're aware. And you shouldn't either, okay? But if you're willing to, then do it. But where's that going?
We were still on the subscription model.
Subscription model.
So
Okay, yes.
how many standing order customers do you have currently?
I currently have about 150 people.
Okay.
My high, I have to say, my high during the craze of comic books back in the 90s, I've been around a long time, I had 400 people that I was pulling books for on a monthly basis. Every so many years, it would go down. We are currently at the 150 level because comic books are not selling the way they used to, 30 years ago. That's okay. They're still paying my bills.
So what percentage of your income, your sales, would you say monthly comes in from your standing order
90%.
customers?
90%.
90%.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Now, is that why that has allowed you to, post-COVID, be closed Sunday, Monday, Tuesday?
Yes, because I know.
Because you don't need to be open.
No.
If 90% of your customers are coming in. Right. Have you ever thought about closing your retail?
Yes.
And
I don't want to because I like my customers.
Okay.
I learned during COVID that I could make more money by just doing mail order. There's no doubt in my mind. Okay, I could move out of a retail spot and move it into my house like you do. Okay, or someplace cheaper. But you know what? I have to be honest with you. I do this for lots of reasons. I do it mainly because I love comic books and secondly because I love money. Okay, but you know what? I really do love my customers. I've had people around me for 30 years. And honestly, if I was not in the position that I was in currently, I would not even suggest you open up a retail store for some items, okay? Just do it online, okay? But in this case, those people are my family now, okay? And that's what you want to go ahead and have happen in your store. What happens, and I have to go ahead and say this because I truly believe this. When a person walks into your store, what I say to them is, hi, if I can help you at all, just let me know. And then you leave them alone. Okay? If they have a question, they were just told to ask you. But you know what? Nobody's going to go ahead and want you to go ahead and follow them around. Okay? Unless you think they're a shoplifter. Okay? In which case, then you follow them around until they leave. But anyway, what it comes down to is you just want people to go ahead and come into your shop and feel comfortable. And what happens is eventually you will go ahead and learn their names. They'll come in more than once or twice. And what you do is you write down the names. You find out what their kids' names are, or their wife's names are, what their dog's names are, what birthdays are, what the kids are playing in school. Okay? That will get them coming back to you. They will go ahead and feel an association to you.
A loyalty. Absolutely.
Yes, a loyalty. Yes.
Absolutely. So, okay. So at one point you did have more than one retail storefront. Am I correct?
I did.
Okay. How many? You had two?
At the most, at the same time, I had 3 different locations going on.
Okay.
I'm a control freak. It was not good for me.
Yeah.
Okay?
I want to know how that went. How did you come to that decision? Why did you think that would be best at the time? And how do you feel about it now?
When you were young, I'm 60, okay? I'm not young anymore. But when I was young, like her age, what happens is you want to conquer the world. Why wouldn't you? Okay? You have all these great ideas. You feel that you probably can do it as good as anybody else, probably better. So what you want to do is you want to go ahead and you want to go out and you want to go ahead and cover as much area as you can. So you go ahead and get more than one location. It's a known fact that the second location is going to be a killer for you. And the third location, not so much, because you know what? It makes no difference. You got 2, 3, 4, it makes no difference. But that second one is going to be the killer for you. What happened is that you could not replicate me, okay? I had people that were okay, but they weren't me. So those shops never did as well as me. And in the end, if you're not in it big time for just money, okay, I'm in it for lots of other reasons too. What you want to do is you just want to pull it back till you feel comfortable. If you feel comfortable having 2 stores, if you have people that you trust and everything else that are going to be dependable and not rip you off, then maybe you can go ahead and have more than one location. For me though, okay, I'm a one-man operation with people who volunteer to come in and do certain things for me during the week. And I love it. I'm very lucky.
Which is wild, and I don't think I would ever recommend anybody do that, but that works for you.
It does.
I don't even want to get into that whole idea. I mean, it's crazy. But, you've been doing this for a long time. You know what works for you and what doesn't. So at some point, you were like, all right, I want to take on the world.
Right.
And I'm going to open some more locations. Right. And then it didn't go that well.
No, they could rip you off blind. You don't know. You only know what the cash register actually says. Unless you go ahead and do a physical inventory of your store, you don't know what's there and what's not there. So what comes down to, in your own store, you know what's going on because you can see it. But if you have a second location and you have to go down and check it out, first of all, who's the extra time to go to a second store to check out if it's being run correctly?
Right.
Again, so I consider my Facebook Live to be my second store now, and I'm in control of both. Okay?
Good.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we know why that didn't work out for you. How many years ago was that?
My last location that I had my last time I had two locations was 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I think when I sold it.
2013.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be like 10 years ago.
So you've been doing this for a long time.
I have.
You obviously love it.
I love it.
And you're definitely a people person. You're certainly outgoing.
I love people that are nice. Yes.
Well, and I would think you would run into a good portion of them.
I
It's
do in
comic
my
books.
shop.
Yeah.
And if they aren't nice, I'm nice to them. And then I give them directions to the next nearest shop on their way out in case they want to get something else. See how I did that?
You're great. You're great.
Yeah.
So, okay, you said you're 62.
I am.
What are you thinking? I mean, are you going to, run Comics and Paperbacks Plus until you're 100? What's your goal?
My goal for me, okay, is that I want to make it to 65 and get Medicare. Is that what it's called? Medicare?
I think so.
I want to get Medicare. And then I want to go ahead and last to 70 because that's as high as my Social Security will go if we still have it. And what it comes down to is, so I have 8 more years that I know I want to go ahead and be in business. After that, I don't know, but I can't see me stop. And if you love your job, why would you stop? What you want to do is you just want to go ahead and spend less time doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've already cut back my hours, to 4 days a week. I could already see me cutting back my hours to 2 days a week. Brand new book day and Saturdays. Okay. If people say, well, you know what, that's not convenient for me, then they can go someplace else. I'm okay with that.
And you would still have your retail store. So you definitely want to have that at least for the next 8 years.
I'm going to have my retail store for another 8 years unless somebody comes in and just throws down like loads of money on my counter and says, you need to leave now, take the money.
Now, you rent at your...
I do rent.
Do you ever wish that you had, back earlier in the day, maybe looked for a location that you could purchase the building?
Here's the story on that. This all depends on everybody who's watching, okay? What happens is if you know you're going to end up getting divorced, don't buy property because it's not going to be your property. You're going to end up splitting it, and it's going to be a fiasco. I'm twice divorced. It's not a good idea that I buy property, okay? Should I have bought property if I knew that I was going to go ahead and make it with marriage number 1? Definitely. Nothing irritates me more than paying whatever I'm paying a month, knowing that I paid for that building that I'm in after 30 years. I paid for that building twice. Now, 2 divorces, I would have lost it twice, okay? So it comes down to you have to kind of figure out your situation. I hope that you all are happily married and forever, okay? But I also am going to go ahead and tell you, I would never, other than my spouse, I would never have a partner, okay? Because while that partner and you might always get along, what happens if they divorce and they marry somebody who's going to go ahead and create all kinds of havoc? Wouldn't that irritate the blank out of you after you spend all that time building a business? Keep that in mind when you decide about going into partnership with somebody else. Just something to throw out there.
That's a good idea.
There's
I
no
haven't
doubt in my
thought
mind.
about that.
Yeah. People don't think about that, but I've watched it happen. Okay. Yeah. Because there's a thing called greed. And while I'm a greedy guy, I'll never go ahead and say I'm not. I'm not as greedy as some people. Okay. So just watch yourselves. Seriously.
That's good. So over your tenure, what would you say? I mean, you've seen lots of businesses come and go from your area,
Yep.
and you've known business owners and whatever.
Right.
What advice would you give to anybody who maybe is starting out or struggling in their business?
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to go ahead and mention that I love retail. So when I go on vacation, first of all, women that are with me love when they're with me because I love retail. So they can go out shopping all the freaking time. And I just go into these places that are mom and pop stores, okay? And I just talk to the owners the entire time that they're looking around at stuff. I'm just happy talking to the owners. And they're like mystified, like, I can't believe that we're here this long. Well, anyway, so I had to go ahead and say that. So
Hold on. And you were talking to these owners, why?
Well, because I want to go and get great ideas. Everybody has something that will apply to every industry if it's retail. Okay, displays, just music playing in the store, all kinds of different stuff. Do you want to have a television in your store? Do you have music playing in your store? Do you want to go ahead and have freebies that you hand out? Does it make sense? There are just certain things you want to do. So
Thank you. I just wanted to be, I knew that's where you were going, and I was like, yes, great advice.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Okay, another thing I want to go ahead and make sure everybody realizes that there's a thing called sales tax, okay? And you must turn that in every quarter, if not every month. I have to do mine monthly. So when you pay yourself the first thing that comes out of every week's thing is your sales tax, okay? Because if not, it's going to bite you when it's due and you don't have it. Because what it comes down to is, you know what, you can starve for a week and survive it, okay? But the state's going to come after you if you don't pay your freaking sales tax, okay? So always remember, the first thing you take out of every transaction at the end of the week, if I did my stuff weekly, is you pull out your sales tax and you set it aside, okay? Because people don't think about that, but it's going to hit you. Another thing you need to have is you need to have business insurance. Some people are going to say, it's not required. Yeah. What happens if somebody trips over in your store and they sue you? Okay.
We are actually going to have an upcoming episode of The Big Small Expert with an insurance expert because I hate talking insurance. I don't know if you do. But yeah, it is a sort of a necessary evil. If you don't have it, boy, are you screwed.
And what happens if something happens to your business? What happens if the place burns to the ground? Okay.
Absolutely.
What happens if it falls into a sinkhole? You need to have insurance. Okay.
That's true.
And again, shop around for it. I'm not going to tell you where I get mine at. You can go ahead and ask her later on if I don't want to go ahead and publicize something. But you know what I mean? Those are two things that you need to keep in mind all the time. Another thing is you need to go ahead and pay yourself before you pay anybody else. Okay?
Oh, how can you do that if you're only making so much money?
Okay, you take out 10%. Okay, you take out 10% and you set it aside. And after a year, if that 10% is too much, then maybe you have to think about why you're in business, okay?
So if I have all these bills and I'm having trouble paying them, I still should take 10% and give it to myself?
Well, you should at least pull it out, okay?
Okay.
Now the question is, you do have to pay your bills. But at the same time, I can guarantee if you pay your bills first, you're never going to have that 10%. So you take that 10% out and you just forget about it. You just set it aside. You pay your freaking bills and then you see what you have left. And hopefully you'll have that 10% left. Okay, but I know that if you wait till last to go ahead and pull that 10% out, for whatever reason, it's not going to be there. You can pay your bills when they're due. You can pay your bills in advance. If you pay your bills in advance and they give you a little bit of money off, that's cool. But at the same time, if you save that 10%, okay, and that's just a number I'm making up. Okay, you can go ahead, save 5%, save 6%,
as long as it's something.
As long as it's something, because you know what? And like I said, and after a year, you have to say to yourself, okay, like I said, I do stuff in yearly/5 yearly increments. Okay, what it comes down to is if you're still having problems in year 5, go to year 6, and then year 7 determines if you're really going to stay in business. Okay, because that's when it's going to. If you're going to stay in business, that year 5 is a big deal. Don't you agree?
I do agree.
Yeah,
I do agree.
I do.
That reminds me. You said something, and I wanted to ask a question about it. You said about the insurance. What else did you? Oh, what did you do? Because you used to rent an apartment, and you had some of your inventory in there, right?
Yes.
So what did you do for that? You had renter's insurance.
Another thing I should have said is you get an accountant, okay, or a bookkeeper, but you get an accountant.
Both.
You get both, and
Yeah.
you don't do it yourself, because any money that you think you're going to save, you're not going to save. They're going to go ahead and save money for you, and it's going to pay for them. Okay, so just do that. So here's the deal: if you are using other areas besides your store to go ahead and store stuff in, and I do, okay, you should take it off in your taxes. I don't become lazy, okay? This is one of those things that she said. Don't say that, Ralph. Okay.
I'm gonna move you a little closer to your mic. The
There you go.
engineering.
There you
You
go.
can keep your face where it was.
But
I'm
anyway,
just moving you closer.
but
Sorry.
what it comes down to is you really should do that. I just don't do that because you know what? I have a box sitting here. I have a box sitting over there. I have a box sitting here. When you live comics like I do, they're all over the place. So, but yes, by rights though. Take everything the government allows you to take because the rich people do. Okay, so why shouldn't you do it too? Right? Because then you'll be a rich person too.
I suppose. I mean, you certainly want to have a professional. Are you a math guy? Are you a numbers guy?
I can count.
I mean, I can count too, but math is not my strong suit.
Right.
Words are my strong suit. So
Yeah.
I definitely have always had a bookkeeper and an accountant.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Okay, you know what I am is I'm an OCD guy. So
Okay.
if I add that line up that has 30 different numbers in it, I do it once. I have to go back and do it again.
Okay.
And if I'm doing it by myself, I'm gonna have to do it a third time just in case. So this way, I know that somebody who is their job to do that is going to do it better than me.
That's smart.
Know your faults. You got them. Okay. I'm sorry to tell you, but you're going to have them. Okay.
So what would you say is one of your places that you struggle in?
Oh.
I know. I have one for you.
You have one for you, or you have one that I do.
I have one for you, but I'll let you go first.
I don't. This is gonna sound really bad.
I don't have any.
Well, okay. I goof off too much. Okay, I goof off all the time. I watch Netflix and I take people's money. That's what I do. Okay.
Are you watching Netflix when your customers are in the store?
Yes. Yes. They're in it's in my office. Okay.
Do they know that you're doing that? They can hear it?
No, they can't hear it.
Okay.
No.
Can they see it?
They can see the computer. Yeah, but they aren't seeing that. And of course,
Okay.
I'm not watching Netflix. Okay.
Just wondering.
So if you have a hilarious comedian on there, okay, that's saying all kinds of vulgar stuff, which I find hilarious, you do not go ahead and have that on when kids come in, okay? You switch over to like Bonanza or something like that, okay? You know what I mean? You always have Netflix and YouTube at the same time, and that way you can go over to the safe thing when somebody comes in that you have to be safe on, okay? So that's what it comes down to.
I mean, the big small expert in me would say I would recommend neither, because that's your time to focus. But I understand you've been doing this so long. You have found what works for you.
Well, see, what I do at my desk, though, is I'm continuously, I can't pronounce that, continuously, I'm pricing up back issue comic books. That's what my job is. What happens is I'm sitting there, Netflix is playing. Am I watching Netflix? It's on. Okay, when the music picks up, you look over. Okay, can I tell you what happened with The Walking Dead? No, because I'm freaking working, but at the same time, it's on. Okay, so what it comes down to is I use it for background. Okay, but what happens is I'm always pricing up comic books because I'm always selling comic books.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Oh, now I forgot what else I was going to ask you. Where were we? Oh.
So what's my fault? I want to know what my fault is.
I love you, Ralph.
I know.
And
She does.
I do. I think it's amazing that you have seen things, work with technology, the Facebook Lives. I know you were doing some things on YouTube. I know that you have embraced social media marketing.
Yes.
But I think that I think there were things that you could and still could learn when it comes to technology that you just don't want to learn.
I just don't want to learn.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I'm very stubborn / stupid.
I would not say you are stupid. But you have also found people who can do it for you.
I have.
So that makes you smart.
Yeah.
I
tell you what. Always make sure that you're the dumbest person in the room. Okay, because you want to be around smart people. You don't want to be the smartest person in the room, or nothing's ever going to change.
True.
Okay, so what it comes down to is my volunteers know things that I'm never going to know, and they're more than happy to help me out and do stuff because you know why? They want me to succeed because that's the kind of people I hang around with. Okay, and they want to have the comic books in their town. Okay, and you know what? I treat people decently. I believe, even people I don't like, I treat decently. And there's people I don't like. But anyway, but what it comes down to is I'm very lucky. And this won't always happen to you. Unless you should get the same kind of personality going on. It has not hurt me, okay? And I haven't mentioned before, but I like to be called in my shop Crazy Ralph because you know what happens is it makes everybody like happy. Oh, this guy's a goofball. And you know what? People like goofballs, okay? Not idiots, but goofballs. Okay.
And you obviously know your industry. You know comic books. You know
I do
superhero-y things. And
I know enough. And if not, I just say that's what this volunteer did. You ask him.
There you go.
I do. I don't have to read all this stuff. Okay. I like the artwork. I don't read the stories. I don't know who Spider-Man #5 is. It doesn't make any difference to me any longer. I just know that guy who drew Spider-Man #5, either he can draw or he can't draw. And I'll tell you.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So is there something that you've been thinking about that you want to try in your business? I mean, your business, how many years has it been again?
36 years. And honestly,
36 years.
Here's the deal. When you say that, I'm sure that there is, but to be honest with you, if I want to try something, I just do it. I don't hold back, okay? So to answer your question is, no, there's nothing I want to try right now because I haven't seen anything recently that I want to try. But if I saw it, I'd try it. Like I said, if you're not willing to take a risk, then I don't know. Eventually, it's going to ruin something in your life, okay?
So you're not afraid to fail?
No, I fail all the time.
Oh, I'm so afraid to fail.
No, I don't.
That's
I
one
don't
of my
care.
problems.
I don't see. again, and this has nothing to do with my business, but you know what? I'm 62. When I got to be about 55, I didn't care anymore what people thought of me unless I actually cared about that person. Okay. So if I fail and somebody says, oh, well, that guy did this or did that, I really don't care what he thinks. Okay. Unless he's one of my customer and he's paying me money, I really don't care what he thinks. Okay. And it's going to be better for everybody out there in TV land to know that, what, other people's opinions of you really don't matter. They're more worried about themselves than worried about you. You just think they're watching you.
Do you think some of that comes with age?
I know it does.
Yeah. I mean, I see it in my 40s.
Yes.
I certainly feel differently about things
There's
than
no
I did in my
doubt.
20s.
Like I said, 55 was a year for me.
Okay.
That's the year I became my father. And my father drives me nuts. So I'm sure that I drive my daughter nuts now. But what it comes down to, you have to get to a certain point where you just realize that, you can't please them all, so please yourself. Okay.
There you go. So one more question.
Sure.
Well, maybe I have more questions,
That's
but
okay.
the one I thought of in your time, what resources have you used over the years to try and, gain more information and better your business?
I never went to college. I'm not a kind of guy who can sit there and study. My memory's gone. Okay. But I have to tell you, and Melissa and I both did this, that here in Lancaster County, in Lebanon County now too, where my shop is, but here in Lancaster County where we're sitting this very second, we have this great organization called SCORE.
That's actually a national organization.
It is a national organization, but our chapter is well revered. You realize that? It was like one of the top chapters.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
And what it comes down to, if you have a SCORE chapter in your area, you need to check them out. It's absolutely free, and there will be people on there that are willing to mentor you on all kinds of things. And the neat thing about it is that there's more than one mentor. So say that you have a question and that your mentor does not have the answer, they will ask their mentor who probably does. Okay, and like she said, it's nationwide, but here in Pennsylvania, in Lancaster County, we have a fantastic chapter. So I went to all of their meetings before COVID, and then once COVID happened, then it all went on to, what was that thing called?
Zoom. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of virtual meetings either.
And so I don't do it any longer, and it's too bad because again, here you are sitting down with different people who run different retail businesses, and all this stuff that we all have in common. Okay, where do you go ahead and go out and buy bags for your customers, right? You want to know what the good price is, okay?
Sure.
Okay, what do? You if you're doing mailings, do you get your own mailing machine, or do you go to the UPS store? Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And those are questions that you ask other retailers because how would you know otherwise? That's why if you have a business organization in your area and it's decent and doesn't cost a small fortune a year, join it. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That was another question I had back a while ago so you talk about that you get your comic books through one distributor?
Currently, it's 2 to 3.
2 to 3. So that is how you get pretty much your entire inventory.
It is. All my brand new stuff for comic books. Now, what happens is I carry other stuff like ghost books. So there's a distributor for that.
Okay.
I get my butterflies from some guy down in the Carolinas. So it all depends on what I'm carrying at the time. Yeah. But I get my weekly books from 2 different main distributors. There are 3 main distributors I'm only using 2 currently.
And what are their terms?
The terms are, presently for me, I'm at net 2 weeks. So what happens is the bill comes in and I have 2 weeks to go ahead and give them a check for it.
And do they give you any discount for paying in?
No.
Okay.
No. What happens is, and I'm very lucky because there's some accounts that are still COD and there's some accounts that are COD cash.
Okay.
So what it comes down to is expect to be COD cash for a long time and then COD check. And then eventually,
so they still do COD, like the delivery person comes to your store and goes, "Here's your box,"
does, sure.
And then you have to pay UPS for them to give it to you.
Yeah,
they don't just say we need a credit card and we need to charge it before we ship this to you.
Honestly, I don't have an answer for that.
Oh, okay. I just
know that there's still shops that I hear about that are still fussing because they're COD cash.
Wow.
And what it comes down to is if you're still COD cash after like 5 years, that's not good. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that you feel like could be of use to anybody who is watching or listening to this podcast?
It's going to sound crazy, but the philosophy that I learned from another guy who was in the flea market with me was you buy low and you sell high. Okay? I know it's going to sound crazy, but it's true.
I'm sorry, I'm moving you closer to the mic again.
Okay.
I know you're getting tired of staying in that same
That's
position.
okay.
We just
But
got to get you closer.
if something comes along that you think you can sell, even if you don't actually sell it, If you can get it at a good price, you buy it, and then you sell it, and you see if it sells. Okay.
Okay.
I know that you would have, 99% of your store wants to go ahead and be a certain thing. But occasionally having something different in there gives people something to talk about too. If they come in, say that all of a sudden you're carrying record albums, okay? Well, they're coming back. Doesn't everybody love listening to record albums from certain time periods? So people just talk about the artists. You know what I mean? So just do something fun every once in a while in your store. Do something to mix it up.
Ooh, that is a good. Here we go. I got more questions.
Okay.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
Do you tell me about? There is is it a national event called Free Comic Book Day?
Yes.
Because that's amazing, by the way.
We were very lucky. Back when there was only one distributor, they were really behind us. Now there's so many different distributors. It's not as popular as it was. But back in 2001, we started our very first Free Comic Book Day. And what that actually is it's based on Baskin Robbins. This comic book shop was right beside a Baskin Robbins, and Baskin Robbins has this free ice cream day. People would go ahead and come in and they get free ice cream. Okay, I'm sure other places now do that too. But what happens is he would watch all the number of people that would come in, and he'd be going like, wonder if we could do something like that. So what we did as an industry, it was his suggestion, but then the industry took it, is they created a thing called Free Comic Book Day. And so the first Saturday in May, since 2001, except for during COVID, is you come into a participating store, and you get to go ahead and choose from books that they purchased for you. So they purchased these books. They weren't free to me, okay? But they purchased these books very inexpensively to go ahead and hand out to you. And there's different requirements. Some shops, like mine, okay? I get in what's called gold sponsors, which are safe for all ages, okay? You don't have to worry when you come into my shop that your little junior is going to walk out with something that I have to explain to him later on and explain to you as a parent why he got, okay?
Gotcha.
We don't have to worry about that. So gold sponsors. So there's usually 12 different gold sponsors. What I do in my shop is if you walk in and you give me your email address, I'll give you 2 free ones. I'm sorry. If you walk in, I'll give you 2 free ones just for walking in. Okay, so everybody's going to get 2. If you walk in, you give me your email address, you get 2 more. And if you walk in and you wear a costume that is age appropriate, okay? So,
but does it have to be superhero related or comic book related?
We want you.
So I could just come in as a cow.
I don't care.
Okay.
You be a nice cow though.
Thank you.
So you get 2 more. So you get 6. You can get 6 out of 12 books. Okay. And then what happens is seriously, I've had as many as 400 people in a 4-hour period. It was crazy.
That's amazing.
And that happens once a year. They started doing it for Halloween. Halloween just never took off.
Are they still doing it?
This year is the first year that Halloween is not being done.
Okay.
Officially. It's being done unofficially.
So you are collecting those email addresses.
Yes.
And then what are you doing with them?
I give them to you.
Okay. There
and
we
then
go.
she puts them onto my website. And then we send.
I don't put them on your website.
Well, you know what I'm trying to say.
But then you're marketing to these people.
I am.
Okay.
I am, yes.
Very cool.
And then, so what happens is I use Facebook when I'm open every hour in my store. Okay. I have probably like 4 different pages for Facebook, and every hour I'm posting about something. That's what I can do. I can do Facebook easily. When I want to go ahead and do mass emailings, what happens is I give those to Melissa, who actually does that as a business, and what happens is she sends stuff out for me.
Okay.
So yes.
Very cool.
Which is
Wow.
usually like monthly or less. So.
We have, it's funny because we talked about this. We were like, I don't think we'll talk for about an hour, but it has been almost an hour.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
But it's kind of fun.
It has been excellent. So I have to thank you, Ralph.
Yeah.
So again, Ralph from Comics and Paperbacks Plus. You can find him on Facebook for his live sales.
Yes.
You can find him in Palmyra, Pennsylvania on
Yes.
Main Street.
Yes.
And I have to thank you for, first of all, being my friend.
Yes.
And second of all, for bringing in, your 36 years of trials, tribulations, wins, losses, and expertise. It has been great to hear all about it. So thanks again, Ralph.
It was fun. Thank you so much.
All right. Peace
Okay.
out.